Hey everybody, this is for our bonus content, folks. Brandon Day is subbing in for Chris Brown, and we're doing actually two important pitchers in the Tiger system right now. Currently, Lael Lockhart Jr., the lefty who the Tigers picked up for cash from the Dodgers last year, and Jackson Jobe. And so the reason why we're focusing on Lael Lockhart is right now the Tigers have had just recently put Reese Olson on the 15-day IL with a right shoulder strain. Matt Manning has a lat injury. Brandon currently
Yeah, lat strain. Yep, right
lat
lat
strain.
strain. Yep.
There's no
And then we've
timetable
still
when.
got Casey Mize. And then we've
Yeah,
still got Casey Mize on the IL with a hamstring as well, which is
yeah.
grim.
So yeah, it's it's injuries all around. And so we're this call 'em up series. How it works is we basically state the case of whether a player should be called up or not. Last one we did was on Andrew Navigato, and we kind of leaned towards not, because I don't think, just because, as Chris said, very straightforward. A, a team will tell you what they think of their prospect when they're batting them ninth in the lineup. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
even with the batted ball data, it just still doesn't matter. But Al Lockhart Jr. is an interesting case because he was a guy who learned to split when he came over to Detroit. And the theme that talking to Brent Hurler last year and several pitchers, and even Montero, they're all learning new pitches. And Lockhart took to that pretty well and made himself really kind of really valuable down the stretch last year for the Seawolves, helping him really clinch the title. And he was very beneficial in the sense that he was, whatever the organization needed him for, he was able to do it. And now going to Toledo was a little bit of adjustment at first, a little rough adjustment, but it seemed like he's settling into things a little bit, Brandon. And he throws a fastball, a splitter, a curve, and a slider. So here's his last one of his last starts against Omaha. We're allowed just one hit. It was early on, but had shut off baseball the entire way.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen him do that a couple times. Against the right lineup, he's been hugely effective. He's also had some blow up starts. Looks like he's battled a little bit with the automated strike zone system, which is now gone, fortunately. But he's never really been a high walks guy. So to see him walk a bunch of dudes at Toledo, I haven't gone and looked through every one of those to see the game day and see how many of them were just mistakes. But when it's the automated strike zone system, you assume that's correct, and probably he's the thing about him is that when he's on, he can nail the corners with the fastball, and it's not an overpowering fastball, but it's good enough when his command is there to let the split play. And as you were just talking before we got on the air, I mean, the splitter is getting a massive amount of whiffs. The curveball is solid, and it can kind of plane off the fastball reasonably well. He's got a slider as well that seems pretty average. Neither one of those is a great weapon, but when he's on, if you think of like crafty lefties that we've seen in over the last 5 or 6 years, whether it was Tyler Alexander or now Tyler Holton, neither of them had a whiff generator the way that Lockhart does. And, generally he's kept the ball in the park. He's had a little trouble with that with the Hens. But, overall, he throws a lot of strikes. He strikes out a lot of hitters. And, right now, what it really comes down to is the Tigers just don't have much in the way of options. And I don't know if this is like the ideal time for Lockhart to come up, but he's 26. I think he can handle it. And, this is the time when you probably need to call him up and try to get some innings out of him, try to get some short starts out of him, and hope that, Chris Vetter and Robin Lund and Juan Nieves can just tune him up just that little bit to keep the ball in the park. Because as long as he's not giving up home runs, he should do just fine with the Tigers. And they obviously need some help. We looked at some of the other options down there. They're just guys who are not throwing enough strikes. Ty Madden has really good fastball slider. Maybe the best pure stuff out of Lockhart, Herder, and Madden himself, but not throwing enough strikes. Struggling to stay in the zone, walking a ton of left-handed hitters, and this year, and since he moved up to Toledo, he's getting bombed on by right-handers now, which was never the problem before. So he's got some issues. Obviously, we didn't mention Manning, but we did mention Manning. Manning being out, they've got to call someone up. And right now I think Lockhart makes the best sense outside of Jackson Jobe, which is kind of his own unique case.
And the reason why Lockhart Jr. too, another thing that stands out to me is that, and I think we've talked about this offline a little bit. What's interesting about when you look at Double A Tulsa, for either offense or deep pitching wise, there's always a weird nuance to it because the Texas League numbers offensively are going to be, I don't want to say, I hate saying that word sus, but they're going to be sus a little bit because either the playing field or whatever, the natural environment. But the number that stood out to me last year was when he came over, it was one of those moves that when you first saw it happen, you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, he's walked 13 and 15 innings of work. But then it was just the first couple of times you saw him, was like, well, what do they address right away? And I gotta give a lot of credit to Gabe Rivas. I'm not sure if Gabe Rivas gets enough credit too, but the fact they go out there and Rivas was with the Dodgers organization, was, I believe, part of the development of him when he got drafted in the 9th round out of the University of Arkansas. They saw something with him, and credit where this is another thing too, Brandon, that we're going to have to start getting used to. Tigers scouting, and you got to get tip of the hat to Scott Harris to sign off on it. They saw something, identified it, and made it better because, I mean, his numbers with both in between Tulsa and Great Lakes were not exactly like just, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do at Great Lakes as a high draft pick, but nothing like just, they were like just someone going, oh, well, this is a guy who's swinging stuff. The splitter wasn't there beforehand, but it's, I think the Tigers here with Lockhart Jr., it's a development win in the sense that this is, to me, arguably, he went quietly, was one of the best pitchers in the second half last year, to the point where, unlike Herder, where Herder is really good. I mean, he doesn't have that swing and miss stuff either, where, I mean, he can dominate the strike zone, but when Herder's off, he doesn't have that pitch where he can go back to and get that swing and miss. But Lockhart has.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Herder's a ground ball guy kind of in those situations. He's trying to use the sinker and slider down and keep the ball on the ground, which, might give him a decent chance for, a call up where he might be able to survive, especially if he's pitching in Comerica with maybe a little, I don't want to necessarily say better defense behind him, but a little bit, and better catching. If you've got, Rogers and Kelly stealing strikes for him around the bottom of the zone, I could see him getting by and doing all right, but I think Lockhart is the most prepared and has the most tools to come up right now, other than Jackson Jobe, and actually have success. And I mean, I think, you look at Eddie's Leonard and Lockhart, both the Tigers, pretty much just took advantage of the fact that the Dodgers system is fairly stacked, and they, occasionally just leak a couple guys when they're making deals. And to identify them, and as you say, the Tigers know the Dodger system pretty well. Feder worked in the Dodger system. Rivas worked in the Dodger system. They've got a couple guys who have, Garco, obviously. So, I mean, they kind of know that system well. The last couple of years, they've done the things that, you and I and Chris have talked about for the last 7 or 8 years of knowing each other, which is, going around and trying to poach some coaches and development staff from some of the best organizations out there doing it. They've done that. And not only does that make you better at developing players yourselves, but it gives you intel on a lot of other teams' farm systems and players and guys to watch out for. So, I mean, this seems like a guy that, they swooped right in on, probably at Reba's suggestion, and, taught him a splitter really quickly. He's taken to it. And, now he's got a weapon that really, Madden and Herder haven't really shown this year. And obviously we've also got Montero up, who, was called up probably a little sooner than he was ready for. And, I'm happy with that. I want him to be working up there, but you can't really count on him to, be consistently good yet either. Lockhart's the one who I think, with a little bit of finishing school with Feder and those coaches and those catchers, should come up and at least give you like a solid 5th starter. And he's also a better option in the long run to take over from Joey Wentz as sort of your, like, your mid-length kind of reliever. And that would give them another lefty in there as well, whenever they can kind of get the pitching sorted out. We don't know how long Olson's going to be out, or Manning, or Mize, but it really doesn't seem like anybody's coming back within like a week or two. It's going to be a bit. So it's going to be all hands on deck time. They put Kerry Carpenter on the 60-day IL today, as I figured they would last night when I wrote that Job article. And so they've got the room. They've also got other guys they could cut, frankly. I'm sure we could both agree on that as well. Yeah. So I think Lockhart right now makes the most sense for the first guy up. I'd love to see them, promote Jackson Jobe up to Toledo, and then we'll see what happens with him. But right now, they need a starting pitcher. They need someone who can handle bulk innings and not get wrecked out there. And Lockhart Jr. is pretty easily your best bet, I think.
Yeah, so we are in the camp of saying just basically call him up, and again, even not yes, because of course it's necessary, but also I think he's earned it, and that leaves us with really the next pitcher is Job, and really the best way I think we can both say this with confidence, Brandon. Call him up.
Call him up.
Call him up.
Call the man
Yeah,
up.
he's wasting bullets. Like I think it was Chris or you that said he's wasting bullets. Last night, or excuse me, Saturday night against the hottest team in the Eastern League, who have won 10 in a row, Binghamton Rumble Ponies. He went out there and for people out there, by the way, who are saying, "Oh, he didn't go 7 or 8 innings," it's the minor leagues. He's coming back from injury.
They are not going to. They don't let anyone go 7 innings in the minor leagues unless it's like a veteran journeyman. You know, they're saving him. And the question is, what are they saving him for? You know, he's not dry goods. He's ripe, delicious fruit. You can't waste it before it gets injured, you know? So yeah, I mean, I could understand the idea of my thought right now is because he's on the exact same timetable as Reese Olson. You make his next start with the Toledo Mud Hens against Louisville next Thursday. And if that goes well, he's on call. You know, you probably don't want to call him up until August so you can try to get the PPI pick next year with him still with rookie eligibility. So I can understand them, you know, giving him 2 starts in Toledo. But after that, let it rip. Call the man up. You know, it's like watching Reese Olson pitch with like twice the fastball right now. And, you know, and arguably a little bit better command. You know, hellish slider, fantastic curveball, nasty split change, throwing 97 to 99, touching 100 sometimes with a really good riding fastball. Yeah. I mean, it's all there. And I understand people who don't watch the minor leagues and stuff will probably think to them, well, there's a progression, right? You have to go to AAA. The question is, what is he going to learn at AAA? The only thing left for Jackson Jobe is to learn to deal with, you know, traffic and adversity. Where is he going to get into any adversity at AAA? You know, I mean, the stuff is the stuff. The command is the command. You could put a major league lineup in there against every one of these pitches, and they're not going to do that much. Somebody's going to hit a homer. You know, they're going to scratch out a couple runs against him maybe on a bad day, and he'll give up 3 or 4 runs. But by and large, you know, what else is there to do? I just can't really imagine a scenario where he goes to AAA and they're just rocking him. You know, it's just not that much better a caliber of hitter than there is at AA. More experienced, yes, but yeah, I just don't see it. I think he's about as good to go as he's going to get. He threw 80 innings last year, including the Arizona Fall League. You'd think they'd like to get him to like 110, 120 this year. That probably means he's got 75 innings left to throw.
Yep.
So yeah, so just turn him loose now. You know, just let him go out there and start for the Tigers. You can keep his pitch counts to like 80, and work him in slowly unless he's having just an absolutely easy day of it. And yeah, just let him work with the coaches, and he's here. I mean, he's here. You can tell yourself as a front office whatever you want to about team control and stash him until next May and do all this manipulation and crap. And then he might just get injured for 2 years. You know, at some point in the 6 years that you have team control of a starting pitcher, he's probably going to have an injury that costs him a full season. So all this idea about like timing it out perfectly to maximize service time and all this is just vanity. He's ready. He should be up soon, and sign him to an extension if you're concerned about his the long-term team control. Go ahead and Colt Keith him right now.
Well, there you go. I mean, and he was the first pitcher that he threw a team no-hitter yesterday, or on Saturday rather, as the first time since Casey Mize and Alex Faedo. So there's that history to go with this. He's major league caliber talent. I mean, look at these guys. There's a bat just a few minutes ago where literally swing on his top. So I think it was the same player where his helmet just flew off. There's nothing they can do. And outside of a crappy strike zone AA, which that AA strike zone this year has been atrocious. Watching some of these Seawolves games, good Lord, they've been bad. And I was talking to a couple people in the Eastern League, just in general, like just the umpiring has been awful. So take some of that numbers aside. But the one thing about him, too, essentially is you look at the Tigers' schedule in August. They have their AL Central heavy until I think the second week or like right through the middle of August. And then their schedule lightens up a little bit where I think you could put them in there towards the end, and especially the Tigers right now, they're about, I think, 2 games under 500. I don't think they're going to compete for a wild card. I mean, there are in the wild card, quote unquote hunt, and I'm not trying to be disparaging about that, but here's you put him in still in pressure packed situations because the Tigers are they're competing to be at least 500, and that's something that they have not been since 2016. I believe.
Yep. Correct. Yep. That's right.
So,
yep. 100%. I mean, it's not that there's so much to play for. If this rotation was healthy and you thought Kerry Carpenter was coming back in a week or two, I could see them making a run. Every year under AJ Hinch, they finish the second half really strong. They play above 500 ball. They just didn't do enough when they were healthy in April and May. If they had given themselves 4 or 5 more game cushion, they'd be right in this thing. I think we're 5.5 games outside of the wild card right now, maybe 6. I didn't see who else played and finished today. But, you can't worry too much about that. And I'm not calling Jackson Jobe up because I think he's going to carry us to the promised land and we're must win or anything. It's just simply the fact that he's obviously ready to go. If they want to try him at Toledo a little bit, if they want to try to, get him a little work there, kind of do that progression and just see what happens there. That's okay. If they want to give him 2 or 3 starts there, but he's ready this year. And as Jackson Jobe himself said in the spring, his entire goal this season is to make it to the major leagues. So it would be kind of weird for the Tigers to deny that goal when he's obviously ready. If you want to mess with it for a couple weeks, that's your business. He's ready to go. So yeah. Call him up.
Call him up. That's, the easiest call him up we've ever had. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Tigers ML Report, or Facebook at Tigers Minor League Report, and check out all the great content over at blessyouboys.com and tigersmlreport.com. Our top 30 will be changing ever so drastically as the draft picks coming in. Justin Henry Malloy now is just graduated from the MLB pipeline, and Lockhart comes in at number 20, and his splitter is rated at 65, which is really high for MLB pipeline, even for MLB pipeline standards. But I rate him at 55 because I can't bring myself to do 60, 70 grades because as James Shipman once taught me, unless it has to be out of this world to even give that. So, but give all the content a try. Let us know what you think. And thank you for tuning in to our bonus stuff. And we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night, guys.